Hey there, all you fantastic people. I hope your day has been absolutely wonderful. We're back for another exciting episode of What If Naruto Became the Wind Lord. Make sure to show some appreciation to the talented author behind this fanfiction. You'll find the link waiting for you down in the description. In this What If, Naruto finds some scrolls that contain Fūton Jutsus. When he goes to ask the old man about them, the answers he gets will change his life. If this What If has your imagination running wild, drop a comment down below and let me in on your thoughts. And don't forget to explore the array of other captivating what ifs available on this channel. Alright, without further ado, let's kick off this video and dive into this exciting journey. There was a commercial break after Naruto's match. It was clear to see why, since Naruto had destroyed a wall and the floor was a mess. Stones stood upright like giant spikes and rubble covered nearly the entire floor. So while the examiners did their best to clean up the arena for the next fight, the station decided to have a small break. During this time, Irika's classroom was given free time. Some, like Udon, were using this time to do homework or study. Others, like Moegi, were just chatting or coloring. Konohamaru was doing either. He was just staring out the window as he wondered how he would be able to catch up with Naruto now. The match was awesome, he thought, but showed how far he had to go in order to continue being Naruto's rival for Hokage. Suddenly there was a tug on his scarf that pulled his thoughts back into the real world. He turned around and saw Hanabi. "I need your help with something," she whispered. "Just follow me and try not to get caught." With that, the Hyuga girl slid out of her seat and began to crawl over towards the door while Irika's back was turned. With a shrug, Konohamaru decided to follow her since he had nothing better to do. Once they were both out of the room, Hanabi led them both up to the third floor. This was odd because the third floor didn't have anything. All it had were a couple of classrooms that were barely used and a couple of storage closets. But it also held one other room, and it was the one that Hanabi stopped in front of. Konohamaru now stood in front of the records room, the holding place of all records about every student in the academy's history. The room was locked, of course, and the only two people who had keys were the principal and the Hokage. For Hanabi, this was the big moment to find out the truth. She had tried asking Irika. However, he said that if she wanted to know more about Hinata, then she would have to ask her directly. That was something that Hanabi just wasn't ready to do just yet. Hinata looked too much like her mother. She was also afraid of her father's reaction. He had gone to all this trouble of hiding the truth from everyone, so he had to have a reason. How would he react if he found out that his own daughter was trying to unearth what he had buried? "Alright," said Hanabi as she turned around and held out her hand at Konohamaru. "Give me the key." "What key?" asked Konohamaru as he began to sweat a bit. Hanabi narrowed her eyes and leaned closer. "I know you have a copy of the Hokage's key that opens every door in here," she said. "And I know that you have it on you right now. Trust me, I know." As she said that last part, Hanabi activated her Byakugan for the added effect. And it worked perfectly. "I feel so violated," said Konohamaru as he handed her the key. "Just don't go looking at me like that again." Hanabi snorted as she unlocked the door. "Like I'd want to do that again," she said with a shudder as she opened the door. One of the problems with having X-rays for eyes is control. Sometimes you can look through a person and sometimes, like this one, only see through their clothing. There was nothing special about the room. No traps, no cameras, or anything that seemed to pose a threat. Just a bunch of filing cabinets that were collecting dust. Each one had a letter written on the top of each cabinet to help with the sorting. This made it easy for Hanabi to find the H cabinet while Konohamaru, who had nothing better to do, went to check out the U one. Hanabi began to look through the files until she saw one with the family name whited out and leaving only the name Hinata on it. Hanabi took a deep breath before taking the file out and opening it. Her pale eyes widened immediately. The parents' names had been completely whited out. This was shocking because no one was allowed to alter these documents without prior permission from the entire council. Normally it was when a student from a high-ranking family had done something wrong and the family wished that there be no records of the incident. Hanabi had to wonder what was going on. "Oh, my Kami!" yelled Konohamaru. "What is it?" asked Hanabi quickly as she turned towards her partner in crime. "Look," he said as he held up a picture he found in the Uzumaki file. The picture was that of a young girl with red hair wearing an orange and black jumpsuit with the sleeves missing. She was giving the camera a big, stupid grin while making the V for victory symbol. Hanabi blinked at first, thinking that it was a boy until she noticed that this girl was a bit more mature than other girls her age. "So what am I looking at exactly?" asked Hanabi. "Boss has a sister," said Konohamaru. "I found this in his file." "Baka," scolded Hanabi. "Just look at that picture, it's so old it's starting to fade. Now keep quiet before we get caught." "Too late," said Irika as he appeared at the doorway. They both turned to face him and saw that he had several tick marks on his face. "Both of you get back to the classroom. We'll talk about your punishment later." With their heads lowered, the two of them handed what they had found to Irika and went back to the classroom. When the two of them got back to the classroom, they saw that the matches had already started up again and had been going on for a while. Time really flies when you're committing crimes. "For those of you who blinked, Rock Lee has just defeated a Kimichi Choji with a single kick," said Koto in a bored tone. "It seems like after Uzumaki-san's match all the other matches have been less than epic. Well, it is kind of hard to compete against a guy who can destroy a wall with a single punch," said Yuri. "Besides, there was the match between Temari and Tenten. Or what about when Nara Shikamaru defeated Kinyu Dosu? Not enough blood in either one," said Koto with another bored sigh. "I thought that Tsurugi Misumi might have been able to put up more of a fight against Kankuro-san, but I was wrong. And the fight between Nakato Yoroi and Aburaim Shino was pointless. But I guess that Konoha is happy that Shino-san won. And neither of those fights had any blood in them. What's a girl got to do to get some blood? Up next we have Mitarashi Anko against Inuzuka Kiba," said Yuri as she made a bit of distance between her and her blood-crazy partner. "Sadly for Anko-chan, it looks like this will be a hard fight to win, seeming that Inuzuka clan always fights with their canine partners. Not to mention that his stats are incredibly high. Should we add this to the list of other predictions that you got wrong?" asked Koto with an evil smirk. "All right," yelled Kiba as he jumped down to the arena floor. "This'll be easy, right, Akamaru?" The small dog on his head barked in agreement. "What makes you say that?" asked Anko as she appeared right in front of him. "Because guys are stronger than girls," said Kiba out of pure stupidity. He immediately regretted it as he felt all of the women's killer intent focused on him. Kin had pulled out her scythe and was glaring at him with hate in her eyes. Temari looked like she was ready to throw her fan at him. Hinata and Kurenai looked most, let's skip over them because they are just too pissed for words. Even Koto and Yuri looked angry, and they weren't even fighters. Akamaru buried his face with his paws in an attempt to hide from the women's anger. "Kick his ass, Anko-chan!" cheered Naruto. "I know I shouldn't be doing this, but you can do it, Anko," cheered Hinata. Kiba spun around and looked at Hinata in confusion. "But I'm your teammate," he shouted as he pointed at her. "You should be cheering for me." "Why would she do that after you make a comment like the one you did?" asked Anko with a deadpan expression. Kiba just turned around to face Anko once again. "Fine then," he said. "I'll just have to prove it when I beat you to the ground." He would have said more, but Hate moved to stand in between them. "All right," said Hate. "Hajime." "Hey Akamaru," said Kiba with a grin. "Why don't you lie down for a moment? I can handle her by myself." Akamaru nodded and jumped to the ground. The dog then walked until he was far enough away so he wouldn't be in the way, walked in a circle, and then laid on the ground. "I don't need any favors, asshole," said Anko as an eyebrow twitched. "Believe me when I say that underestimating me will be a big mistake." "Let's see if that's true," said Kiba with a feral grin. He then made several hand signs and yelled out, "Shikyaku no Jutsu!" As soon as he said that, Kiba shifted into a quadrupedal stance as his fangs and nails became longer and pointed, causing him to resemble a feral beast. Kiba then shot at Anko, who pumped some extra chakra into her legs so that she could jump up to avoid the attack. Kiba saw this and reacted quickly to stop and jump into the air after her. That's when he noticed Anko reach for the bindings that were tied to her waist. He then saw her reach for what looked like the handle of a sword that was hidden by her jacket and pulled on it. Instantly her Urumi unraveled and lashed out at Kiba. Kiba managed to twist his body in mid-air to avoid the attack and his target as well. He landed on all fours and then dodged left to avoid being pierced from above. Anko landed on the ground a moment later and didn't let up her own assault. Once again she lashed out at Kiba, who moved to his right this time. He thought he had nothing to worry about until he heard Akamaru warn him that the blade was coming back. Kiba looked behind him and saw that the blade had twisted like a snake to come at him once again, only this time from behind. Kiba once again dodged the attack, but only by a very narrow margin. It looks like I'll have to get serious now, said Kiba as he got up and reached into his pocket. He then pulled out a soldier pill and tossed it to Akamaru, who ate it. A moment later the dog turned a dark red color and then jumped onto his master's back. Jujin Banshin! He yelled as Akamaru vanished in a cloud of smoke just to emerge as another Kiba. Great, said Anko with a sigh. Now I have to look at two ugly mugs. At least you could have changed him to look a bit better. Joke all you want, replied Kiba. Let's see how you do against this. Shikyaku no Jutsu. Now both Kibas charged at Anko, who once again lashed out at them. But this time they were ready and avoided the attack with ease and still managed to plow into Anko, sending her crashing into a wall. Anko managed to get back to her feet and whipped the blood from her face before having to dodge the double assault once again. Shit, thought Anko as she continued to dodge the attacks. They're moving too fast for me to hit with my sword, and I doubt I can trick them again with its features. Now prepare for our ultimate attack, roared Kiba as he and Akamaru began to spin around. Gutsuga! Kiba and his partner then became like drills, spinning in the air so fast that no one could see them. All Anko could see were the dirt and other materials spinning around and around until they both hit her, one from in front and one from behind. Anko then fell to the ground while the two Kibas landed on their feet. Looks like I was a little too rough on you. You may have been one of the strongest and scariest girls back at the academy, but that was then and this is now. I bet you can't even stand up right now. Shut up, snarled Anko as she got on her hands and knees. Excuse me? Asked Kiba with a laugh. You heard me, said Anko as she slowly got back on her feet. She swayed for a moment and then looked at Kiba with the scariest look she could give. I said shut up. I've heard enough of your barking and I have to listen to it anymore. I'll make sure you get neutered. Whatever, said Kiba as he turned to the ref. Just call the match already. She can barely stand up anymore. I'll call it when I decide to, replied Hate. Kiba shook his head. Looks like I'll have to beat you down some more, he said. Gutsuga! Once again the twin drill came at Anko, who stood her ground as she made several hand signs. She then took a deep breath and yelled, Dokujiri! As a purple fog came out of her mouth. Both the Kibas passed through it, and when they came out of it missed Anko and landed on the ground. Akamaru returned to his original form and began to cough violently along with his master. Kiba looked red-faced and was sweating, like he had a fever or something. He looked like he wanted to say something, but couldn't as he was coughing too much. In case you're wondering what happened, said Anko as she began to breathe hard. You just flew into a cloud of poison. Just be glad that you were only in there a second and inhaled the little that you did. Had you stayed longer, you wouldn't be able to give me that nasty look right now. But then again, your face does look a little nasty no matter what. I declare Mitarashi Anko the winner, declared Hate as medics burst into the scene. Alright, yelled Yuri. Go girl power! Well, we can all agree that that match was defiantly more exciting than some of the others we have had to endure, said Kodo. Wish Anko-chan had bloodied up Kiba-san a bit, but the poison was a nice touch. And now we have only 3 contestants remaining. Who will be the next pair to fight? And what will happen to the last Chunin hopeful? Will he get a free pass or will he have to fight someone who has already fought? And the next pair has been decided, said Yuri. Up next we have Sex vs Gara. This is it, yelled Sex as he turned towards Naruto. I'm glad we didn't fight in the prelims. I want the honor of defeating you in the finals. It'll be a much grander stage and we can both go all out. That's fine with me, said Naruto with a grin. And I'll be glad to kick your sorry ass once again. Oh yeah? Demanded Sex as he got in Naruto's face. Yeah, said Naruto as he did the same. Your opponent is waiting, said Hate. Both Sex and Naruto turned to look at the arena floor and saw that Gara was waiting on the ground with his arms folded. Alright, said Sex as he jumped over the railing. As soon as he landed, Sex whipped out the Titan blade and took his stance. Gara said nothing nor did he move. Yet, there was movement on his gourd as the cork seemed to pop out all on its own. Well, you both seem ready, said Hate. Hajime! I'll end this quickly, said Sex as he charged at Gara. Sexter Amarif! With that, Sex leapt into the air and began his series of twists and turns with his body and his blade as he shot towards Gara. But as soon as the blade was several feet from Gara, the red-haired Neen sand erupted out of his gourd and moved to block the blade. Sex, who kept a firm grip on the Titan blade's handle, twisted his body so he could give Gara a spinning kick. Once again the sand blocked the attack. Not seeing any other options, Sex landed on the ground and pulled back to create some distance between the two. "I'm waiting," said Gara with the same bored look. Sex then seemed to vanish, and then appeared behind him ready to strike. The speed was impressive but not fast enough as the sand moved to block the attack. Sex jumped up and tried to get an aerial assault in, however the sand grabbed the Titan blade and flung Sex away like he was a toy. Sex landed on his feet and skidded a bit while not taking his eyes off his enemy. "Bastard hasn't moved an inch," said Sex in a low voice. "I tried to see if that sand defense and any weak point or time lag or anything, but it was all automatic and moves faster than me. And he hasn't done any hand signs that I've seen." Sex then grinned, causing Gara's eyes to widen for a moment. "This'll be fun, Baka," said Gara calmly. "You will meet the same fate as all the others who have faced me. Death." He then heard a gasp and turned to look at that person. His eyes widened when he saw Haku with her hands over her mouth. A feeling of dread filled him like nothing he had ever felt before. He began to wonder if she hated him now, and why he cared if she liked him or not. Thoughts in his head became more and more confusing to him until he grabbed his own head. Sex watched as Gara had his internal mental battle while wondering what the hell was going on with him. Gara was looking away from his opponent and staring at some girl with black hair and chocolate-colored eyes. "Okay," thought Sex. "I'd better do something and fast before the Sandman remembers that I'm still here." With that said, or at least thought, Sex began to spin the Titan blade in front of him until it was just a blur. "Buraku Tatsumaki!" he yelled as a black mass of air shaped like a drill came rushing at Gara. Gara's head snapped back at Sex just a moment before the sand blocked the air mass that had been flying towards him. However, the power in that attack was great, and some more sand was needed to completely block it all. "Surprise!" said Sex, causing Gara's eyes to widen even more than before. Sex was behind him and the Buraku Tatsumaki was just now starting to fade. Without saying another word, Sex slashed at Gara's left side with enough force that Sex believed that he could have sliced through him. Instead, Gara went flying to the side until his sand caught up with him, and then gently set him on the ground. "What the hell?" yelled Sex as he pointed at Gara. "I had it all figured out. Keep your sand distracted and then attack you. And why aren't you even bleeding?" It was then that Sex noticed that the area where he had attacked was all cracked and slowly repairing itself. "This is my absolute defense," said Gara calmly. "Even if you get past my primary defense, Suna no Tate, you still have to get past my Suna no Yoroi. I will say this, I had to use even more chakra than normal in order to keep it from completely breaking. You have come closer to harming me than anyone else. Gee, what an honor," spat Sex as he began to the Titan blade once again. "But I won't lose to some coward who relies completely on defense. Kakijiten." Like when he fought against Naruto, the Titan blade seemed to catch on fire, and due to the fact that it was still spinning, it looked like a flaming disc. Sex charged at Gara and began to slash at him over and over again. Each time Gara's sand moved to block it, and was melted by the flames. It was only a little at a time, but eventually Gara had no more sand left. Sex was now panting in front of Gara, who seemed to be unconcerned. The flames on the Titan blade were gone due to a lack of chakra. Sex gritted his teeth as he stared back at his seemingly uncaring opponent. "This punk still thinks he can win," he thought. "He's out of his mind. His body looks extremely frail, probably due to that defense of his. I doubt this coward can even take a real blow. Now die!" shouted Sex as he lunged at Gara. Then, something happened that changed everything. The gourd on Gara's back seemed to explode as Gara yelled out, "Sabaku Q!" And then the sand shot at Sex's, grabbing his right arm. Sex quickly moved the Titan blade to his left hand before the sand completely stopped him and covered his entire arm. "Pathetic," said Gara calmly with an arm raised and palm open. "Now I will make you pay for trying to erase my existence. Sabaku Soso." The sand was about to start to implode when Sex did something no one expected. Using his left arm, he moved the Titan blade and cut off his entire right arm before the sand imploded it. Blood poured from the wound and Sex was screaming in pain. But there was still an insane grin on his face. "Why did you do that?" It was all Gara could think of to say. "I'd rather cut my own arm off than let you do anything with it," panted Sex. He then dropped the Titan blade and began to hold his wound. Gara just stood there for a moment and stared at Sex. He thought about killing him, but he could still feel Haku's eyes on him. It felt like he was being judged by her or something. He didn't know what to make of these feelings. So, with a sigh, Gara did something that made his siblings gasp. Gara had turned away from an opponent without killing him. "Winner of this match is Gara," said Hate. "Wait," groaned Sex. Hate looked at Sex and shook his head. "Sorry, but you can't go on anymore," said Hate. "You literally cough, did this to yourself." "I know," said Sex weakly as he looked at his severed and crushed arm. "I just want him to kill me. I've lost and will never be able to be an effective shinobi with this one good arm. That arm is useless now. So please, just kill me." Sex closed his eye and waited for a blow of some kind. He heard several voices just before someone grabbed his shirt and yanked him up. Sex opened his eye and saw it was Naruto. "What the hell's wrong with you?" demanded Naruto. "Didn't you tell me that you would keep coming after me as long as you lived? Where is that determination now?" "You little," snarled Sex. "So what if you only got one arm?" said Naruto as he pulled Sex closer to him. "You can still make a fist and punch people. And you still have legs to kick with and a head to headbutt with. But I guess you're too stupid to." Naruto was unable to finish due to Sex following Naruto's advice and giving the blonde a headbutt. "Asshole," swore Sex as he fell back to the ground. But somehow his energy seemed to be returning even with the heavy blood loss. "You couldn't let me have my moment. When I get back from the hospital, I'll make sure that they have a bed waiting for you." With that, Sex passed out and was then moved onto a stretcher. "Damn it," swore Naruto as he rubbed his head. "I can't believe he still made time to threaten me before he passed out. Looks like I'll just have to pay him back later." "Later," said Hate. "Oh, and thanks for volunteering for the final match." "Nani?" yelled Naruto as his eyes became dish plates. "Here we are," announced Koto. "My number one favorite, Uzumaki Naruto, will be fighting for a second time in the prelims against Abumisaku. But before all of you go placing those bets, it seems like the Hokage has decided that Naruto-kun will not be able to use his Senpuken. Apparently, they don't want the building to collapse on them. Cowards! This'll be a great disadvantage to him seeing how much he relied on it during his first fight," said Yuri. "I bet it must use a lot of chakra." Zaku stood in front of Naruto with both arms in a sling. Yet he had a smug look on his face. After hearing the new rules that the Hokage had made just for this match, Zaku felt sure he could win. Especially since he had a little surprise ready just for his match. "Hajime!" yelled Hate. Zaku sprung into action as soon as he heard that. In half a second he had pulled out both his arms out of the sling and yelled, "Zankaha!" sending a supersonic burst of air flying at our hero. The attack seemed to hit him and smoke filled the room. When it cleared, Naruto was nowhere to be found. Zaku looked left and right while holding his arms in front of him so he could use his attack again. Imagine his surprise when Naruto seemed to fall out of the sky and land right between his arms. Naruto then grabbed both arms with his hand and held on tightly. "How the hell did you survive?" demanded Zaku. "Please, I could see that attack coming a mile away," said Naruto with a smirk. "In order for you to use that attack, you have to keep your arms straight and facing your target. And you were so far away that it gave me plenty of time to create a Kage Bunshin and then use Kawarimi no Jutsu. That's all very impressive," said Zaku with a smirk. "But you are overlooking something. True, I can't attack you like this, but neither can you. And once you let go of my arms, I'll use all my power to turn you into dust." At that, Naruto smirked. "What are you smiling about?" "I think you're the one who's overlooking something," replied Naruto. With that, Naruto began to focus hard to use what he learned during his wind manipulation training. And before Zaku knew what hit him, Naruto had cut off both of his arms with pure nature manipulation. "Winner Naruto," said Hate over the screams of Zaku. The room was silent as the de-armed Otonin was taken out of the room. Everyone except for Hinata, Anko, and Haku kept a watchful eye on Naruto. While it had been a stunning display of skill for the two other wind users in the room, it made everyone else kind of freak out. Kurenai was left wondering what Kakashi had done to make Naruto improve so much. Asuma was simply impressed that Naruto could do something at that level for his age. Guy was shedding tears of joyful youth at how Naruto had helped a foreign shinobi. And let us all be glad that he didn't ask Naruto about how he got his skills, because if Naruto had, Guy would have begun to shout about how youthful Naruto was. All the other genins, except for Temari and Gara, were just freaked out. Back at the station, Koto had a look of utter bliss on her face. It was hard to describe. Her eyes had a dreamy look to them and there was drool coming out of her mouth. If having your favorite meal was a 1 and doing it is a 10, then this would be a 9.9. Koto-chan, said Yuri nervously. You're starting to scare me. Now all of the genins were lined up in front of the elder Hokage and several of the examiners. The old man was proud to see so many Konohanins advance to the final round. This would show the strength of their village not only to their clients, but to the rest of the village as well. And it did his heart some good to see that Naruto and Anko were 2 of them. You have all done well, said Sarutobi after a moment. Now that we have all seen how you fare when you have no idea what your enemies are capable of, we would like to see how you respond when you know what they can do. In 1 month's time, all of the appropriate parties will be contacted and given time so that they can reach the village to watch you in the final round of the exam. You may use this time to prepare however you see fit. If you wish to sit back and relax, that is your choice. If you wish to train to better prepare yourself for your opponents, you may do so. In fact, I would highly recommend it. The format of the final exam will be similar to what you just went through. The exam will take the form of a tournament. However, that doesn't mean that there will be one winner. In fact, even if you lose in the first round, you might be promoted. We will be watching you fight to see if you have the qualities that make a chunin. The more you fight, the more chances you have to show that you have those skills. Now we will be handing out ballets in order to. Hold on 1 second, came a man's voice from the back. Everyone turned around and saw a small black cat enter the room. The cat then vanished only to reappear on the Hokage's shoulder. The cat then whispered in his ear, causing Sarutobi's eyes to widen in shock. I'm afraid something has come up, said the Hokage as he cleared his throat. Once we come to a decision on the matter, we will contact you with a lineup. Please expect it to come in at least 3 days from now. Yoruchi-san will escort you all back to the village quickly so you can begin making preparations. With that, he and the rest of the examiners vanished from the room. You heard it from the Hokage himself, ladies and gentlemen, said Koto as she got back into her grove. In 3 days we will have a lineup for the Chunin exam. This is going to be a bloodbath for sure. Please don't get too excited, said Yuri as she sweat dropped. As for us, we will be making our way there to cover the fights live and give you live interviews with the contestants. However, these fights won't be free and you will have to order it. Sorry. Jiraiya let a grin slip as he got up off his seat. He knew that Orochimaru had plans for that village. In fact, he was going there to help stop whatever his old teammate was planning. But now he had another reason, to start training his godchild. This was going to be exciting, that was for sure. If you will please follow me, said Yoruchi as the cat motioned them to follow. Hold on, said Kankuro. Shouldn't we have a real guide or something? I mean, you're just a cat. At that, Yoruchi chuckled and let out an evil smile. Hinata shook her head to tell Yoruchi no, but it was too late. I see, said the cat. Well, my dear little genin, I guess I had better show you my true form then. Yoruchi's body began to glow, and smoke began to circle the cat's body as it began to change into a more human one. The black fur turned into tan skin and purple hair appeared on the head. And then, it was done, and several of the guys had major nosebleeds as they stared at the naked form of Yoruchi. I just love seeing the way people react when I reveal my true form. They always accept I'm a guy because of the deep voice. They're not reacting that way because they thought you were a man, said Hinata. It's because you're naked. But clothing is just confining, said Yoruchi with a pout. Naruto and Anko just smirked as they tried not to laugh at their friend's embarrassment. Here I am, announced Sarutobi as he entered the council's chambers. He moved quickly into his seat and sat in between Hamaru and Koharu. As he sat, he pulled out his pipe and lit it. The rest of the council, which was made of several of the founding clans and several civilians, sat down. I have just been made aware that Orochimaru has left us a message about the Chunin exam. Hi, said a civilian councilman. One of this village's jonin was found dead just a short while ago. A message was carved on his back and the body was laid out near training area 44. The message demands that Uchiha Sasuke be allowed to compete in the final round of the exam and to go against Gara first, or else he will destroy the village. We cannot allow ourselves to be bullied like this, said Hayashi. Right now the entire shinobi world is watching us and on live television. If we do as he says, then the world will see our weakness, and we will lose face. Better to lose face than to lose lives, said Nara Shikaka lazily. At least that's the way I see it. Look at it this way. If we say no, then he will attack. But if we go along with it, Orochimaru might keep his word. I know it's not very likely, but we should do everything in our power to avoid a conflict like this one. Coward, growled the Haruno. You're only saying that because your son made it to the final part of the exam. At that, Shikaka blinked. He's in the Chunin exam? He asked, causing everyone to face fault. How could any father be that clueless? Both sides have merit, said the Hokage as he took a drag. I too wish not to show any weakness at such a critical time. However, we know what kind of man he is. He has been planning this for a while now and is being very careful with his plans. All we know is that they involve Uchiha Sasuke in some way. The mark on his neck is proof of that. I agree with Sarutobi on this, said Hamaru. We shall have to allow Uchiha Sasuke to compete in the final exam. We could tell the public that an outside party interfered with the exam, said Koharu with a nod. We needn't give out the details and give a perfect excuse to allow the Uchiha to compete. Now wait just a moment, said Sarutobi. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. There are still other factors to consider. We should talk to our allies in Suna about this as well. They have a right to know what is going on since Orochimaru wants one of their shinobi to fight Sasuke. I agree with Hokage-sama, said Danzo, shocking everyone. No one thought they would live to see the day when either one would agree with each other. Hell must have frozen over. He then stood up and turned to face Sarutobi, who stared back. Since we are dealing with Orochimaru and his Otonins, we will need not only superior strength but numbers as well. After we take out Orochimaru and whatever forces he plans on using against us, the two of us will be able to destroy his village and divide the land up equally between our two villages. At least for now. Once again we are getting ahead of ourselves, said Sarutobi. We will send out a message to Suna to inform them of the situation and then wait for a reply. Once we have received one, we will make our final decision on the matter and go from there. Until then we are to act like nothing is wrong as to not alert the public. However, I think we shoulder schedule a few emergency evacuation drills just to be on the safe side. Meeting adjourned. Oh, and Hayashi, could you stay behind for a moment? With that, all members of the council got up and left the room until it was just Hayashi and Sarutobi. The Hokage calmly took a drag as Hayashi waited impatiently for the old man to say what he wanted. He was a busy man with things to do. Finally, the head of the Hyuga family spoke. What do you wish to talk about, Hokage-sama? Asked Hayashi in a respectful tone. Something has been troubling me, said Sarutobi calmly as he blew a ring of smoke into the air. Niji seemed to think that he had a chance of leaving the branch family. Why is that? Clan matters, said Hayashi. I will admit that we had a talk before the start of the exam. I had told him that if he did well then I would look into having him placed within the main house. However, he did not live up to my expectations as he clearly lost in the preliminary round. I see, said Sarutobi. That is very generous of you. Very unlike you as well. With that, Sarutobi took another drag. Yes, very unlike you. Well, please be aware that I will be keeping an eye on Niji for a bit. Some of the things he said made me think that there was something more going on, and he had better be in good condition to help fight Oto when the time comes. We will need every able body available, so I don't need you causing him unnecessary harm with that seal of yours. Hayashi gritted his teeth for a moment. The Hokage was beginning to suspect something, but at the moment all he had were his suspicions and no time to really check up on them. And for that, Hayashi was thankful for Orochimaru. All Hayashi could do now was to lie low until this blew over. That or the old fool died. Very well, said Hayashi as he fought hard to stay calm. Let us hope that he recovers quickly. Damn, this bed is itchy, whined Sex. It was the next morning and Sex had been patched up and given a blood transfusion. He had to admit that the medics of this village were pretty good at what they did. They were able to do their job quickly, which was essential in the shinobi world where you had to get back onto your feet quickly. Plus, all B had lost was his arm. He just wished they used a different fabric softener when they did the laundry. It could be worse, said Naruto. Sex turned his head over to the side and saw Naruto sitting in the chair next to his bed. When did you get here? Demanded Sex. A little while ago, said Naruto. The twins are right now trying on nurses' outfits, so I let myself in. Sex grunted. Well, that's just perfect, said Sex. If this were a mission, I would be dead right now. He paused for a moment, as if to think about what he was going to say next. Listen, Kaze-shu, don't you dare lose from here on out. As soon as I get back on my feet, I'm going to restart my training so I can function with only one arm. And when I'm done, we are going to have that rematch. Hi, said Naruto as he waved it off like it was nothing. But it did feel nice to have a rival like Sex. In some ways they were so much alike. They trained hard in order to prove themselves and believed that the only real way to fight was head-on regardless of what others thought. In the back of Naruto's mind he was sure that if they had been born in the same village they would have been friends. "Don't wave me off like that, damn it," swore Sex. "Listen, I'll only say this once. We're back," yelled Elfin's wolf. They were both wearing white nurses' outfits, and were carrying a large amount of medicine and needles. "Time to play doctor." "What the hell?" shouted Sex. "I was about to say something really profound and you two had to ruin the moment. And this isn't a game, you numbskulls. Just what is wrong with you two?" "Sex, you shouldn't yell in a hospital," said a voice from the doorway. Everyone turned and saw a person that they all knew very well. "Hanzo-sama / Ojizen," said Sex, Elf, Swolf, and Naruto respectively. The leader of AIM nodded as he walked towards the bed and then stared down at Sex. "I saw your fight," he said after a moment. "Well done considering who you went up against. And you saved yourself some time as well. The doctors have informed me that your arm was crushed so badly that they would have had to remove it anyways. So that leaves us with a bit of a problem now, doesn't it? Are you still willing to be a shinobi?" "What kind of lame-ass question is that?" said Sex. "I won't quit until I have beaten down both the Kaze-shu and you, Hanzo-sama." Hanzo chuckled. "It seems that Naruto-kun has rubbed off on you," said Hanzo. He then turned towards Naruto. "Thank you for setting this deadbeat straight. Now he has a clear understanding as to why we pushed the younger generation so much. And you yourself have proven me right when I said you would be a great shinobi. I am proud of you, Naruto-kun." "Thanks," replied Naruto with a grin. He was then about to say something when voices in the next room caught the attention of everyone. "So girls are weak," yelled Hana, followed by several sounds that sounded like smacking. "Baka! I think it's time you learned the very same lesson I gave your father years ago," said Sum as she cracked her knuckles. "Believe me, you'll be better for it." And when Naruto turned around, Hanzo and the rest of the AIM neens were gone. Later in the day, Sex found himself back at AIM. Somehow Hanzo had brought them there so fast he had thought they had teleported. Hanzo merely stated that it wasn't him but his salamanders that were to thank for their speedy return. Now, he was in a lab with Hanzo and several other scientists who were preparing all sorts of devices. Sex felt like the only light in the room was the one on him as he lay there on the table. "I hope you enjoy this," said Hanzo. "You are going to be used to test the first prototype." "First prototype of what?" demanded Sex. Hanzo moved to the side to reveal that he had been standing in front of a case holding a robotic arm. It seemed a bit bulky, and the area from the hand to the elbow seemed to be a bit larger than the rest, like it could hold something. "This is something I have had our research team look into for some time now," said Hanzo. "In Suna, some of their puppet masters can replace lost limbs with wooden ones and use them as if they were the real thing. Well, I have something better in mind. We technology in this village is more advanced than any other village in the shinobi world, and it is time we showed them that with this. The Solinid Quench Gun Arm." "Indeed," said a scientist as he came into the light. "This little beauty will be attached to your nervous system so you can control it like it was the real thing, and it will be powered by your own chakra. It will also store chakra so that you may fire it in the arm's transformed state, or use it if you run out of chakra yourself as an emergency option. It also has a special scroll department so you can use fire the water that is in the scroll with enough power to cut through steel." "Any drawbacks?" asked Sex. "A few," admitted the scientist. "If you use all the chakra stored in the arm, then it will stop functioning until its power has been restored. Also, it takes time in between firing sequences so you can't fire repeatedly. Lastly, it takes about 30 seconds to transform the arm from gun mode and back again. I have it all lined out in this manual. Do you want this, Sex?" asked Hanzo. Sex just grinned. "Do you have to ask such a stupid question?" he replied. At the same time, Naruto and Hinata were walking through town. They hadn't seen Anko all day, and they got worried. When someone like Anko just vanishes off the radar, you can't help but worry. They had checked every store that sold dango and every training field in the village and still found nothing. Now they were back in the market area and it was getting dark, which made Naruto worry even more about his first real friend. "Ano, I'd better be getting back home," said Hinata. "Yoruchi-Nizan has been worried lately and that's never a good thing." "I guess," said Naruto as he leaned against a wall. "I'll keep looking anyways." However, Hinata didn't move. Is something up, Hinata-chan? Well, kind of, admitted Hinata. You see, we might have to fight each other in the final exam. I'm just worried that, well, you know, that we might go a little too far in our fights, supplied Naruto. Sort of, said Hinata. I mean, what if we really hurt each other or do something that ruins our friendship? Naruto blinked at that. You know, he said, that never occurred to me, but I think we'll be alright. All we're going to do is show everyone what we're really made of. As long as we fight to show everyone what we are really like, I'm not worried at all. Hinata nodded and then took a deep breath. She then moved over to Naruto and did something that seemed to stop time itself. She kissed him on the lips. Naruto's eyes opened wide in complete surprise. He had no clue why she was doing this all of a sudden. And then it was over and Hinata took several steps back. I just wanted to do that before the final start, she said quickly. Also, please don't hold back. So many ways that could be interpreted. And before Naruto could blink, Hinata used Shuinpa and vanished out of the area. All Naruto could do was look up at the skies, bring a hand up to touch his lips, and wonder if she liked him or something. Hinata reappeared a few blocks away and seemed to be in a very good mood. She had finally shown Naruto how she felt about him. If she were to die right now, she would die the happiest girl in the world. The only thing that could make her happier would be if Naruto had kissed back. But that could wait for another day. Right now she had to get home. As Hinata walked down the street to get to her home, Hanabi was following her from a distance. Today was going to be the day when she would get answers right from the source. In truth, she had not planned on it. However, when she saw Hinata just appear a few yards in front of her, she decided that it was a sign from the gods themselves. Hanabi decided to follow this girl to her home and confront her there. Suddenly, Hanabi saw Hinata turn down an alleyway. She, in turn, followed her down until Hinata stopped at a dead end. Then, Hinata spoke up. What do you want with me, Hyuga-sama? Asked Hinata in a calm voice without turning around. Hanabi started to take a step back but stopped herself. She couldn't back down now. I have some questions for you, said Hanabi in the toughest voice she could muster. I want to know who you really are. Why do you look like my Ka-san? Why are all the records of you deleted from the clan and the school? Tell me. And with that, Hinata slowly turned around. Hanabi felt her strength crumble as she looked into that face, the face that so much resembled her mother's soft features. The look in Hinata's eyes seemed like she was sad for some reason yet held it back. And for a moment, no one said anything as they stood in that alleyway full of trash. Are you sure you want to know? Asked Hinata. You might not like what you hear. I have to know, said Hanabi. Hinata sighed. This goes back to when the war against Kumobikure ended and they sent a representative to work out the peace treaty, said Hinata. Hanabi nodded. I know all about that, she said. They used it to try and capture a main branch member, but Two-san caught him and killed him. After that, they demanded his head, but instead my uncle was sent to them. What does that have to do with anything? Then, something clicked inside Hanabi's head. You were that child, weren't you? Hi, replied Hinata. That was when your Two-san started to despise me. He blamed me for the death of his brother. He claimed that if I hadn't been so weak as to get kidnapped in the first place, then he would still be here today. Even Niji blamed me. Now tears were rolling down Hinata's eyes. The happiness she had felt just a short while ago was completely gone now. All of her painful memories that she thought were gone were now hitting her like flood water. But it wasn't your fault, insisted Hanabi. How could it have been? You were just a child. I know, said Hinata. But that didn't matter. In his eyes, I was nothing short of a total failure. And as soon as you were born, he didn't hesitate to throw me out. Now Hanabi began to sweat a little and took a step back. Wait, she said nervously. Why does my birth have anything to do with it? Did you ever wonder how your Two-san was able to get to the Kumonin so quickly? Asked Hinata. How he could have sensed that a Hyuga child was being abducted. How he killed him without any hesitation. Hanabi's eyes widened. She slowly began to shake her head no. Wordlessly, Hinata nodded yes as if to answer some unspoken question. And when Hanabi saw that, she felt her legs give out on her, and she fell onto the palms of her hands as everything began to click. Hinata was her older sister. Her father believed her to be nothing more than a shame upon the clan and got rid of her as soon as he had another heir. That's all Hanabi was, a replacement. With that, Hanabi got up and ran away from her sister who was left alone to cry. At the same time, Naruto had made his way back to his apartment, while still thinking of that kiss. Sure, we're close, thought Naruto. And I do like her a lot. But I never thought of her in that way. Sure, she's cute, smart, and we both like plants. Oh no, I can't start thinking like this. I bet that was just a good luck kiss or something. Yeah, that has to be it. Naruto then stopped at his doorway to find Anko leaning against it. I've been waiting, she said. And I've been out with Hinata looking for you, he said. I was worried. Oh, said Anko as she looked upward. I wonder if that would be considered a date. Nanny? Asked Naruto quietly. Anko just shook her head and turned to look at Naruto. Nothing, forget I said anything, she said with a smile. Listen, I'm going to be training by myself for a while. So I thought I'd come by to tell you, but no one was home. So I just waited. Oh, well, Hakuitoko is out gathering herbs and stuff, so won't be back till the morning, said Naruto. Then he shivered. Said something about making a special meal and smiled. Creeps me out when she does that. Anko let out a laugh at her friend's misfortune. But you could have just left a note or something. Well, I wanted to tell you something else and I wanted to do it face to face, she said. And once again, Naruto was caught off guard as Anko closed the gap and kissed him on the lips. Naruto could feel her arms snake around his body and hold him tightly as he stood like a deer in headlights. Then, when the kiss ended, Anko looked at him face to face. I wanted to let you know that I love you. And with that she let go and ran away from the blonde who was still standing there like a statue. Thanks for listening. I do hope you enjoyed it. If you want the next part of this video, like, subscribe and comment down below and turn on the bell notification. And also check out other videos that I have created and enjoy. See you in the next video. Peace.